Hello, I'm Delit. I love cross stitch, and today I want to share some projects I've done with you. The first one I'm going to share is the one I'm working on right now, just to show you the progress that I've made. This is designed by Tracy Riffle, that's featured in Just Cross Stitch magazine from February 2009. I call it my This is the Day sampler. The scripture from the Bible in the book of Psalms says, "This is the day the Lord hath made. Rejoice and be glad in it." That's from Psalms 118, verse 24. And so I started out stitching this little bit of pink right here. I think I might have done the first chimney. And now I've done all that shade of pink on the front of the house. I've started on the grass and I've started on the tree. So this shade of brown on the tree, this will come down here for the rest of the trunk, and then we can go up and do the tree. That's the same color that I need to do for the roof, the windows, and the door. There's another shade that I'm going to use to do a row around the edge of the house and the roof, and then in around the windows. It gives definition to it all. I'm really excited to move on and stitch so many more things in here. I finally got all my floss colors so I can stitch anything I want now. Coming across with the grass, let me start on the tree without needing to count very far. And then I can also now easily stitch sheep or this border, or once I get a little more of the grass done, I might be happy to come down and do some words. I can do my dog. Once I get well, I could do the bird anyway. I'll probably wait to do the apples and leaves until I at least get a branch coming out, just so that I can tuck my floss underneath the threads there. Anyhow, really am enjoying stitching this project on 32 count Belgian linen, the natural color. I found this in my attic. I'm not sure where I found the daffodil, if it came with this border. I did that because that's the symbol for Wales. Also, daffodils start to bloom around this time of year. I finished stitching this, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. But it didn't take all that long to do. I thought it was really pretty and just was something I liked. I really didn't have any intention of what to do with it afterward. So you can see that I stitched this on in a hoop, but at this point I had learned the lesson that if you're going to use a hoop that's big enough that it will never crush your stitches. So when I finish this off, whether I frame it or if I were to make a pin cushion or pillow out of it, that shouldn't be too much of a problem, even if I can't iron out the little wrinkle that kind of is left, because of following that rule. You can see I didn't do anything to keep it from fraying, and I had a piece of fabric that was plenty big, so it didn't really matter if it did fray. So you can stitch without dealing with the issue of your fabric fraying, but it is something that could happen, especially if you haven't given yourself enough fabric. It could be an issue when you go to finish it. This is another project that I did called Parrot Tulips. Didn't need a lot of different floss colors to do this. It's really small. It's on 18 count Aida. I think this is like a cream sort of color. I was going to put this in the middle of a pillow. I got frustrated, didn't know what to do with it. And my mother said, well, give it to me and I'll make a pillow from it, which she has not done. And now I think is at a stage in life where if it's going to get finished, I'm going to need to finish it. Um, sorry, I'm just folding up my little fabric over here. It's distracting me. Um, so I'll just need to do that. I will probably just use a different fabric than what I was using, and it will be like the centerpiece in the middle of a pillow. It will be really pretty when it's all finished. I wanted to point out I did this stitching in hand. I didn't have any trouble really with the fabric frame. It is a small project, so that might be partly why that is. And it does have back stitching on it. And the back stitching is pretty key for making it stand out and look really pretty. It was pretty before it had back stitching. I will say that, I remember that. But I did really like the finished effect with the back stitching. Okay, so that's one that will be for my mother once it's finished. But I'm not going to do the pillow right away. Just, I'm not in the mood to make a pillow. Here's another one that I made for my mother, and this is one I'm going to get framed for her as a gift. I don't know that when I stitched it for her, but I told her she could have it. She really liked it, and I didn't have any plans of what to do with it. So it has just a tiny bit of back stitching on the flowers. So that's a great project for someone who doesn't like to backstitch. I think it comes from a Cross Your Heart pamphlet, but I'm not positive, that has a lot of different scriptures in it, or religious things to stitch. I've made several things from that booklet. It's one of the booklets that I bought early on when I started cross stitching. So it's, it's probably from the 90s. It's more than 20 years old. I know that. It's probably more like at least 25 years old. And I've had this done for a while, for a long while. This is 14 count Ada. I think this is, well, it's not white. So it's like an antique white or something. It's not, it's a lot lighter than the parrot tulip. This is more of a cream color. So it's not white, but it's like maybe antique white or something. Anyway, it comes from the verse in Ecclesiastes, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose. Ecclesiastes 3:1, one of my favorite scriptures. So I also just love the color combination and thought that it was really pretty. It would make a nice pillow. You wouldn't have to frame it, but I plan on framing that. I'm excited to show it to you once it's finished. And here's one that I stitched and finished at least 10 years ago or more. I didn't know, I never really had a plan of what to do with it when I was done. And Mom said, well, I think it's pretty, give it to me and I'll put it up. But it still needs to be framed and then hang up. You can see I stitched this in a hoop, but the hoop was big enough to not crush any of my stitches. And I am sorry that I did this with tape. You'll see that on various projects that I've done, not any recent projects. I finally learned my lesson with that when I took the tape off one and the adhesive is on the fabric. It also kind of, sometimes it leaves like a discoloration on the fabric. It is going to get all tucked under. You're not going to see that at all when it's framed. So when you have that would be the argument for not caring about it. I don't like it. It bothers me and it is kind of sticky. So if you want it to just be nice, then don't do this. So let me let you look at this up close. And I can do that best if I kind of tuck it under on the bottom. So just a few things to point out. There was some metallic thread down here. And it really is pretty. Sometimes it's hard for it to come through on video, but it makes a huge difference to use the metallic even in the white. And this is also metallic, and the flags are metallic. And although you could do that with another like cotton floss, it wouldn't have the same effect. And so even though it's harder to stitch with metallic, I think it's worth the extra effort. But some people do just get really frustrated, and then it's not enjoyable for them to cross stitch. So if that's the case, you can still do the design with some other thread that you think looks nice. The back stitching is really, I think, essential in this project for making things stand out. Some people complain about back stitching, but I think it's easy. I don't mind it at all, and I really like the effect. So on this project, it's really necessary for it to have the final look that it has. On some projects, it's not necessary, like the next one I'm going to show you, which is a design that my mother did for me. Oh, the sand castle was from a Just Cross Stitch magazine, but I don't write those things down. So I don't know which Just Cross Stitch magazine. Both the Parrot Tulip and the Sandcastle were probably magazines I don't have. They might be ones that I found in the library and used the pattern from the magazine in the library. And I don't remember the designer. This was on 14 count Ada. It's kind of a peach color. Obviously not as dark as the peach on the wall, but just a really light peach color that I thought looked really nice. And look, I have oceans of fabric there. You could make it a pillow, but Mom does not want a pillow from this. Then it will be pretty framed and put up on the wall. This will be pretty with a mat or two, like a double mat would be pretty. And then I have, wow, a wide range of choices on frame with that. That will look nice. The other one, the scripture phrase, there is a time to every purpose. Did I say that right? There to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose. That I don't know how I'm going to frame that. If I'm going to use a mat or not, or what kind of frame. Just something that looks nice. This one I do have a stronger idea on. So it was my idea for Mom to use the tape. That was not her idea, but anyhow, she made this for me. Isn't that beautiful? I'll let you look at it up close. I really love that she put down here for Dillet from Mom. It's stunning, and there's no back stitching. The border is incredible. I don't really need a mat for this. I will, when I frame it, have it go right up to the edge of the design. I could use a black frame, a gold frame, a wooden frame. It's going to be really pretty. I suppose there are some really pretty mats that you could use with this that might add to it. So I don't know, only because it would make it look a little bit bigger. That's the only thing I can think of. I guess maybe if I was going to do a wood or a black frame, it might give more of the gold look if I did like a gold kind of a mat. But if I do a gold frame, I don't know that it needs much of a matte. I guess you could do a black matte, and that might, I don't know. We'll see what the framer recommends. So on that one, there's no back stitching. It's very stunning and stands out really well. It comes from a book on Egyptian cross stitch that I got some years ago. And I actually still haven't stitched anything from that. There's more than one book on Egyptian cross stitch out there. And I wish I could remember which one it is. But when I go through and show you my different books, then I'll be able to tell you who did the book. And that's King Tut, obviously. This is a pattern that doesn't have back stitching in it. I thought I would point that out for anyone who likes to stitch and doesn't like back stitching. This style of cross stitch doesn't really need back stitching. You can see that you don't back stitch on things there. And it kind of, that's just the style. So I think that's everything for today. Leave any comments you have for me about any of the projects or any questions that you have. I probably have forgotten to address some issue. This was done on, I think that this is 14 count. This is not 14 count. It's not 14 count, Ada. I have another pattern here that is 14 count for reference. So this might be 16 count. I don't think it's 18 count. The little tulip. Sorry, fish out my little tulip. I think the tulip is 18 count, just for reference. You can see the difference. Yeah. I don't know, maybe it is 18 count. It's probably the only project my mom did on 18 count, and she's just too old and her eyesight's not good enough to do that anymore. So she does 14 counts pretty much only now, with a magnifying glass of some sort. It's kind of hard. Although the project she's doing now is on black Ada, which is the hardest for I think it's one of the hardest things you can do is stitch on black. But she really likes the effect of colors, especially for a floral, on black Ada. Anyhow, any questions you have for me on the designs or comments, I would love to hear from you.